What's going on, everybody? So today I'm going to talk about something very important to me, and that is the Steam Deck OLED. So for the past few months, I've been playing the Steam Deck OLED religiously. I play it every time before bed and just whenever I get the chance. But I've been testing this system out for the past couple months, and I've been having an absolute blast with it. Sure, it's not perfect. There are a lot of things that I would fix if I could on the Steam Deck OLED. And similar to the Steam Deck LCD, this handheld still has its fair share of issues and hiccups every now and then. It's not perfect. It won't be an absolutely flawless experience similar to something like the Nintendo Switch. But regardless of all of that, this handheld has a lot of features that I wish a lot of other handhelds would have, such as plugins. Plugins save the day every single time. Whenever I want to play my music, it's not working right now, as you can see, which is the imperfections I was talking about. Or if I want to quick launch an app, change my startup animations, which is also not working right now. But regardless of all of those hiccups, the Steam Deck OLED has proven itself time and time again, especially when I just want to sit down, relax, and play something like The Evil Within, without having to deal with the frustrations of sifting through Windows 11. And of course, even though Windows 11 is kind of frustrating to use over something like SteamOS, SteamOS still doesn't have 100% compatibility, and you will continuously have to tinker with a lot of different type of games like Street Fighter X Tekken to get specific Proton versions that will work with it. And yes, you need a Proton layer in order to get most of your games to work. Now, this is something that almost too many people are concerned about when it comes to SteamOS, and rightfully so. There's a huge learning curve when using Proton. A lot of the times, your games that are verified won't work for certain reasons, so you need a specific Proton version to get through a specific part of the game. That is very frustrating, and it's something that a lot of people will complain about. But I would say for the majority of the time, about 85 to even 90% of the time, SteamOS works flawlessly. At first, with games like the Master Chief Collection in the first year, I would need a specific Proton version to get this game to run properly. But now, I can just go into properties. You'll see here that I have no compatibility layer on top of the default in order to get this game to operate. And that's something I've been striving to get towards since the first month of owning the Steam Deck LCD. And it was a huge hassle in order to get a lot of games to work. But let's not talk about the problems. Let's talk about the positives of the Steam Deck OLED. First of all, the screen is absolutely staggering. I have never seen an OLED screen look this amazing. I have a matte finish anti-glare screen protector on this, and the details still pop with specific titles like Cyberpunk 2077. And yes, even though compatibility is an issue, and sometimes when you get enough plugins running, this system will work very slowly, as you can see. Sometimes SteamOS doesn't work properly, or you have to restart the system a couple times in order to get certain features to work. And especially times where you're playing a game in the background and you're trying to get SteamOS to work, but it just doesn't work as smoothly as it would if you have the game closed. And because I have VLC Player open and GTA 5 running in the background, SteamOS working a lot slower than it usually would. And these are the type of issues that you would run into probably on day one, especially with new software updates. There are some complications with software updates, and it's unfortunate that SteamOS doesn't run very well when you're running any type of game that is more costly than a game like Grand Theft Auto 5, which, as you can see, it kind of froze up. So yes, Steam Deck OLED is not perfect. Sometimes it freezes up, but for the majority of the time, you can just put it to sleep and wake it up just as easy as that. And this is something that a ton of PC handheld owners would love to experience on their ROG Allies, MSI Claws, and anything that operates Windows 11. But as you can see, the screen and the details still pop. It even looks like 1080p. The best part about this is you get the aesthetic and you get the performance with SteamOS's Proton layer, as well as the integrated CPU inside of the Steam Deck, specifically made to play games in handheld and low TDP wattages. But looking a bit more at the features while GTA 5 plays in the background, the Steam Deck in particular has so many features available for it, specifically tailored by Valve themselves into the operating system to work perfectly hand in hand with Steam Deck and Steam Deck OLED models. Like this feature that allows you to actually wake the system up with any controller. Now, there are a wider variety of controllers that work with this function with the Steam Deck OLED specifically, and Valve is still working on the kinks with the original LCD, but it has something to do with the Bluetooth adapter inside of the Steam Deck OLED. But yes, you can actually get the system to work like a console. So let's say you put the system to sleep really quick and then you want to dock the system, and you're comfortable in your couch, so you decide to use your PlayStation 5 controller, turn on your Steam Deck OLED. And as you can see, it already connected within 1 second, started up the system as if it were a PlayStation 5. Now this feature is absolutely phenomenal. I think it solidifies the concept that the Steam Deck is actually a console and PC hybrid. And also the fact that you can go into desktop mode. But there are so many different customizations to this, and the customization is what I love the most about the Steam Deck, simply for the fact that you can actually get a plugin to change your artwork. And the plugin, if you want to know, is called Steam Grid DB. Now this allows you to customize your templates, icons, and actually customize the artwork within the game. So I can get any kind of artwork I want for GTA 5, including animated artworks, which is what I have defaulted to GTA 5 currently. So there are so many things. You can even go back into the old days with actual GTA 5 and not GTA 5 Enhanced, where you get so many options to different types of cover arts for this title, including wide capsules, hero artwork, and you could even change the logo or make the logo animated as well. There's so many customizable options on the Steam Deck. Its eventual slowdowns can be overlooked by all of these customization options. And I feel like this is the main thing that I specifically love about the Steam Deck OLED, apart from its convenience and the fact that you can turn it on and off whenever the heck you want. And also the fact that it's a bit slow whenever playing a game in the background. The fact that you can actually use your controller to turn it on as if it were a console, but not only that, but fully customize the system as if it were a jailbroken PSP is absolutely mind-blowing. You could even download controller tools that let you know specifically what percentage your controller battery is at. And as always, the DualSense is dying and will probably die in the next minute or so. What's new? So we'll just turn that off. But you can also customize what is shown in your library. And I only have 3 tabs open in my library because I think Great on Deck is kind of misleading and it's sort of useless. Now, that's another thing I want to talk about with the Steam Deck. The verification system is still very misleading and at times straight up just a lie. There will be games that say they're playable or verified or just absolutely do not work and will give you no hope to buy them on the Steam Deck. But I have completed Dead Rising 3 about 5 times on the Steam Deck specifically, and I beat it 1 time on the Steam Deck OLED. So this game is very verified in my opinion, and I didn't have to do any kind of Proton compatibility layer to get it working. So in terms of what Valve tests and they don't test, I feel like they just pick a game that they want to sell and they choose it to be either playable or verified. If they know that it has issues, but they want it to sell very well, like the Master Chief Collection, they will sign that game as playable. But if they really want the game to sell like Resident Evil 2 Remake, then they will count it as verified. So there's the fact that the main verification system is just pretty much a lie at times. And I feel like that is a decent takeaway if you don't want to get the Steam Deck OLED. You have to be realistic. This system is not perfect, okay guys? It's a system that has a lot of flaws at times, but is so amazing in other moments. And in real time, I pressed the 3 dots and the menu still hasn't opened for me. So as you can see, this system does not have anywhere close to enough RAM. That's another thing to consider. In terms of hardware, we're seeing the specs close to something like a Nintendo Switch 2, where you feel like you can get a lot more with this system if they just updated it a little bit. And this is actually the current updated version of the Steam Deck, which is the Steam Deck OLED, has slightly faster RAM, a larger battery capacity, and probably the best screen in the industry. And yeah, let's just not question the fact that I'm looking at Franklyn's on do sit-ups. But in real time, as you can see, the Steam Deck button isn't working properly. Sometimes it works about 80% of the time, and I think that's good enough for me. But there can be some delays when playing taxing games like Grand Theft Auto 5 apparently, and it gauges the kind of power that the Steam Deck OLED has. But with all of that said, would I recommend the Steam Deck to somebody? Well, of course I would. I gave my Steam Deck LCD to a family member for free because I love the system so much, and I thought it would be a good entry point to a PC handheld gamer. And overall, after 3 years of playing the Steam Deck and now owning the Steam Deck OLED, I think that the Steam Deck has an insanely bright future ahead of it, especially if Valve just hurries up and updates the hardware for this magnificent handheld with an operating system specifically tailored to it, similar to the Nintendo Switch. It froze. And it's getting really hard to recommend this thing whenever there are constant freezes and bugs like this on the Steam Deck. And I know I could just be doing something else, but of course, PC gaming always has a back door. This video is specifically meant for people that don't want to go through those back doors and just want an entry-level handheld to play their PC games. But overall, after 3 years of using this handheld, I would give it a solid score of 8.5 out of 10. I think there are still some missing pieces to the Steam Deck that I would love to see in the future, like further compatibility with specific titles, a major hardware upgrade, and possibly a 1080p OLED display if I'm not asking for too much, with VRR. That would be incredible. I think that the Steam Deck is in desperate need for a software and hardware upgrade. I think the software is amazing, but it's time for a SteamOS 2.0. As you can see, since I turned off the PlayStation 5 controller, now I do not have access to the actual Steam Deck controller, which is a bit strange. So usually what I have to do right now is turn the PlayStation 5 controller back on, rearrange the controllers, and see, in concept, using something like SteamOS is fine. But whenever you get some kind of issue like this, where you just can't rearrange the controllers, it's a bit disheartening to use something like SteamOS. So I'm just going to close this game. But yeah, it's not perfect, especially since it hasn't had a proper hardware upgrade in a very long time. 3 years is so long for a handheld PC. I think having an upgrade every 1 to 2 years will do just fine. But of course, for some people, this is more like a Nintendo Switch than a PC handheld to them. So having a hardware upgrade every 2 years doesn't seem very sensible. But seeing how I just closed GTA 5 and UI is still freezing up a little bit, it shows that this hardware has aged. And with all of the software updates and plugins, we just need more power for this system. But yeah, I would still highly recommend the Steam Deck OLED because the screen, the compatibility overall, even though Valve tells us one thing or another, which may or might not be true about the verification system, I believe that emulation on the system, playing different types of titles like Halo, and the Steam operating system and the way it's tailor-made for this handheld does stand the test of time in terms of hardware upgrades. Yeah guys, let me know what you think about the Steam Deck OLED. If I didn't mention it before, I think emulation on this device has gotten better over the course of a few years. There is a video I'm specifically trying to make about this particular topic with Steam Deck because there are a ton of issues when it comes to emulation, so I can't 100% recommend it since there are a lot of false recommendations out there that may or may not brick your system, but I'll cover that soon. Yeah guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Later.